about this Jose Aldo fight, but now you know you had an opponent in Cheeto, you got maybe a better opponent in Patchy Mix, and now you're only a handful of days away from actually getting back in the octagon. So I guess how's camp been? How's life been? And how's it been to be able to talk about something else besides the Jose Aldo fight?
Yeah, it's been nice, turning that little chapter, and it'll be complete after this Saturday. But it's been nice, getting into camp. I'm used to these kind of camps, like these last minute changes. I've been through it before, so it was no stress, just minor changes here at the end. But yeah, I'm excited to fight Patchy. It's a big opponent. He's very skilled, so I'm excited to challenge myself against him.
You seem like someone that wouldn't really care about who brings the most attention, but I feel like maybe in the UFC fans' eyes, Cheeto might be more popular, but in the diehard MMA fans, they've been clamoring to see Patchy Mix. So have you seen any reaction to the opponent change, either better or for worse, or are you just someone that doesn't pay attention to what the fans kind of focus on, and you just like Patchy as the opponent?
No, I've seen, like you said, like the diehard fans, like they know who Patchy is, and we all know who Patchy is and how good he is. So that's what makes me excited for this fight. He hasn't been in the UFC before, but I think he brings a lot to the table as far as like a following and definitely skill set. So I'm just excited to go out there.
And he's been saying, all the right stuff. Like, he's the best bantamweight in the world. He said that he would probably beat your jiu-jitsu coaches if they lined him up. He's going to run through you to the title. So I guess you obviously respect his skill set in there, but what do you make of him? Do you feel kind of like he's overlooking you, maybe, and he's already looking at the belt past you?
Yeah, I don't know. This whole week and the things he's been saying has just kind of been making me laugh. He just kind of seems like an angry guy for some reason. Like, he's talking about submitting me and then submitting, like, my 60-year-old coach, But I highly doubt he could run through my whole crew. There's some people in the gym that would make him look, like a purple belt. So I think he's a little wrong there. But like you said, he's saying what he has to say to sell himself. So yeah, I think it's kind of funny.
Do you think, outside of fighting for the title, he might just be the next best guy in terms of attention that a fight could bring you? Like you even said before the Aldo fight, like, it's not something you look for, but Jose Aldo brings eyeballs no matter who he fights against.
Yeah, and definitely with him making his UFC debut, it does bring a lot of eyes. Everyone wants to see what he's about and what he could do in the UFC. But yeah, I'm looking to shut that all down, and then, yeah, we'll see how it goes.
And obviously, your teammate Sean O'Malley is fighting for the title in there, but how important was it to be on the same card as this bantamweight title fight? Because to Patchy, it felt important just to be around the title, but for someone who's been in the UFC for so long, I guess just how important was it to be on this card?
Yeah, it was pretty big. I like fighting on the cards with Sean. He brings good energy, and it brings a lot more eyes to the bantamweight division. So we might get to see who's next up, or for who's going to be that next number one contender after this one.
Mario over here. I've seen some of your interviews since the Jose fight, and I think you've kind of handled the criticism well. You've kind of let it roll off you. Do you feel like, though, going forward, like particularly with this fight, there's any extra emphasis to change that narrative, like to go out there and get a finish and kind of show everybody, like, hey, I'm the guy that got a flying knee knockout in my second UFC fight. Remember me?
Yeah, no, I'm not looking to go out there and change anything and make those fans happy, because at the end of the day, it doesn't even really matter, I'm on a 7-fight win streak, and I would understand if all 7 of those fights were the same way. I would understand, but, each fight is different, and I can guarantee this one's going to be a lot different.
Yeah, and him coming over from Bellator, I mean, like Jose said, there's people that think he's maybe the best bantamweight in the world. So I heard you just say that there's guys in your gym that you think would make him look like a purple belt. How good do you think he is? Like, have you been able to kind of figure it out? Because it's tough when he's fighting all different fighters and stuff. So for you, how good do you think he is?
I think he's really good. I've heard gym stories of him beating certain people, who do very well in this division. But there's younger guys coming up right now that are way better than, some of us that are in the top 10. So for him to say that he would go through my whole crew, I think he'd be a little bit embarrassed out of my gym.
Over here. Patchy Mix is making his first UFC debut against you. How are you planning to welcome him into the UFC?
By fighting him and beating him up.
All right. Also, after being on a 7-fight win streak, do you feel disrespected going into this fight as an underdog?
No. He's has a great record. You know, I think he's on a 7-fight win streak as well. He's 20-1, a champion outside the UFC. And no, I usually don't even pay attention to that stuff anyway.
Mario, right here. You said you actually met Patchy after the Blackshear fight and that you guys talked briefly, and it was a pretty respectful exchange. Have any of those feelings changed towards him now that he's been talking trash a little bit in the lead up to the fight?
No, because I kind of see like through that whole like front that he's putting on. You know, who did I fight? I think I fought Blackshear, and he seen him in the elevator, and he congratulated me and said, "Oh, I'm a fan." So that's why I think it's kind of funny, you know, that he's just putting on like this tough guy kind of act. So. Yeah, it's whatever. He has to do what he has to do.
A lot has been made about his BJJ throughout his career and in the lead up to this fight, but you've shown some pretty sick grappling yourself throughout your career, and you train with some very high-level grapplers in the gym. Do you feel like your grappling's being a bit overlooked here, and could you see yourself potentially getting a finish on the ground?
You know, that's his wheelhouse. You know, that's where he's best at, and I think I'm better in a few more other areas than him. But you know, I have good enough grappling and jiu-jitsu just to defend what he's going to do.
Mario, right over here. Obviously, going back and talking about the Cheeto fight just a little bit, would that be a fight that you'd be interested in down the road, maybe after this fight? And also, how does this fight, this matchup itself, stack up to a Cheeto fight?
Yeah, we'll see after this fight. You know, I think a win over Patchy takes me into the top 5, so I don't know if the Cheeto one would make too much sense. But I think it does stack up well. You know, like I said, a win over Patchy, I think definitely gets me into the top 5, which a win over Cheeto would have done the same thing as well.
100%. And last but not least, what are your thoughts on the main event? How do you see that playing out?
I'm excited. You know, I've been watching these interviews with Sean, and I didn't know, you know, he got off social media. He, you know, stopped, you know, smoking and doing all these other things besides training. So I'm excited to see him go out there and see what he can do with this different mindset.
Thank you.
Mario, over here. There are some reports that your teammate Marcus McGee might fight Peter Yan next. How do you see that fight going?
That's an exciting fight. I know some people are mad that he's getting, you know, a fight so far up the rankings, but man, don't count Marcus out. Marcus is a great fighter, and I'm excited for that. I think it's going to be a great fight, and I see Marcus winning for sure.
And one more from me. You've trained with your teammate Sean O'Malley for a long time. Outside of fighting, what's your best memory together?
Outside of fighting. At the very beginning when we showed up, we were at a fight camp at a house, and this guy was smoking outside. And I asked Sean, "Hey, do you smoke?" "No, man, I would never do that. No, man, that's not me. I would never do that." And then, you know, a few years later, he's just advertising everything. So that's one of my memories I have of him.
How was different for you, camp, after you knew Cheeto was out of the fight? Did you change the person that you sparring with after you know about it?
No, I didn't have to change much. I didn't even have to change my training partners, you know, because Cheeto's like a little bit longer guy. So we had the same training partners. We just had to adjust game plan a little bit, and that was pretty much it. So it was a pretty easy transition.
Do you think you will see him in the future?
Patchy?
Cheeto?
Oh, Cheeto. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how good he does, and if we're around the same area as far as rankings, we might meet.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.